Good afternoon, everyone. I'm nervous like hell. This is the first time that I'm presenting a story. I've been writing all these years, and for the first time, with the support, help, and motivation of Potli, my dear friend over here, and the audience, I would like to present a small story which is again a memory of my childhood, a real story. And I hope I do justice with the story. I narrate it as well I have written it. The name of the story is Mere Pran Nath. To give you a little briefing about the story, it's about a love letter that I wrote when I was 12 years old. My very own first love letter. So as the story unfolds, you'll realize what did I write in my first love letter. She was 20 and I was 12 years old. She had a big round face with huge black eyes. Her jet black hair was long and tied into a long serpentine plait, with a long straight middle parting which was filled with sindoor, indicating that she was married. A big red bindi adorned her forehead. She was plump and a little short, and her face complexion added to her beauty. The bright red sari suited her fair complexion and made her look all the more beautiful. She beckoned me inside the room. The movement of her hand caused the 12 odd red bangles she wore to her hand clash with each other and created a tinkling sound. आती हूँ मंजू दीदी, I answered to her call. क्या हुआ? बाजार से कुछ लाना है? I asked. नहीं, बस एक चिट्ठी लिखनी है, she replied with her eyes cast downwards. A smile played on her lips and she blushed and was beetroot red by now. I could not understand how a simple word like chitti could make someone so happy. Anyway, I focused on my task. Being a very helpful girl, I was more than ready to oblige this beautiful cousin of mine who got married recently and had come to spend a few days with us. We lived in a joint family and Manju Didi was my cousin sister. She was diagnosed with a hole in her heart valve at the young age of 8. Hence, she never went to school. But in those days, it was okay if a girl didn't study a lot. Good looks and knowing household work was more than enough for a girl to get married. As a result, Manju Didi got married to a decent gentleman from Nagpur, Narendra Jijaji, an introvert person, an epitome of decency and a thorough gentleman with a brilliant understanding who, in spite of knowing the complication of my sister's ailment, married her. It was the first time that Manju Didi had come to stay with us after her marriage. And in those days, since there were limited landline connections, if even you applied, there was a waiting period of 2 or 3 years, and no other fast or quick modes of communication except the snail mail, the very own Antardeshi, or the inland letters, or the postcard. As a result, Manju Didi wanted me to write a letter to her husband. But since she was not educated, she sought help. Now, I, being a very studious girl, was more than happy and glad to help her and flaunt my writing skills. Armed with an inland letter and a pen, I reached her room. The date and Shri was written neatly on the inland letter. I wanted to create a good impression on my Jijaji. I asked my sister to dictate. I waited for my sister to start, but she wouldn't. She was tongue-tied. She kept on twisting her sari's pallu around her fingers and kept looking down and digging the floor with her toe. Her anklet produced a hesitating music, a hesitation that matched with the emotions going on in her heart. After a long pause from her end and a long stare from my end, she finally started. Her first words shook me. Very gently, laden with a lot of honey and sugar, she uttered the first word, Mere Pran Nath. My hands froze. I was not going to write this. How could my married sister do this to me? I was just a kid. How could she dictate such a letter? I was not going to write it for her. I rebelled. But my inner voice said, do it for her. She's your sister and she's not able to read and write. It is your duty to help her. I somehow managed to write the letter to her, Pran Nath. The painful ordeal didn't last for long, as Manju Didi didn't have a repertoire of vocabulary. And very soon the letter ended with Aapke Charnon ki Dasi, Manju. I was shaking after the letter had been addressed and sealed. At the age of 12, I wrote my first love letter for someone else. After that, it became a regular stuff. Whenever Manju Didi would come to stay with us, I would act as her scribe. I hated the process of writing a letter for her, as it was awkward for me to be a part of someone's personal marital conversation. But I did it for my sister who was uneducated. After a few years, we received a postcard which broke the news of the sad demise of Manju Didi after a long term of illness and treatment. I was unconsolable. I cried my heart out. And after a few days of her demise, Narendra Jijaji visited our house and showed me a bunch of all the letters that Manju Didi had written to him. Arati, you helped her create a lasting memory. I can never thank you enough for all that you have done for us. Today, even though Manju is no longer with me, I have her memories in the form of these frozen words. Thank you again. On the other hand, I could not thank Manju Didi enough for two things that stayed with me for the rest of my life. One, the importance of education, and second, inculcating in me the habit of letter writing. I write letters even today, and I don't know when a particular letter written by me to whom may become a memory for someone. This is a very close story to my heart. The first memory of the letter that I wrote for someone else, but continue doing so till date. I hope even you have a memory of your first written letter. In case you have, feel free to share it with Potli. Thank you so much.